Jimmie Johnson returns to IMSA sports car racing at the 24 Hours of Daytona. Why this is a bigger deal than you think. Coming up next. Before we get going, if I haven't earned your subscription, hopefully I will earn it today. All right, Jimmie Johnson announced that he is coming back to the Action Express race team to race the 24 Hours of Daytona, and a few days ago, the team was announced. He will be joined in the number 48 Allied DPI Cadillac by Kamaya Kobayashi, Mike Rocky Rockefeller, and Jose Maria Lopez. Kobayashi is the team principal for WEC Toyota Kazoo Racing. He won the 2021 Le Mans. He's won the 2019 and 2020 World Endurance Championship, and he has also raced in F1, Formula E, and GP2, so he is no slouch. Mike Rocky Rockefeller, he is a German DTM champion for Audi Sport Team Phoenix, so he is no stranger to sports car racing. And Jose Maria Lopez is a WEC champ and former Le Mans winner. He actually won last year with Kobayashi, so those two are used to working with each other. Also on this team will be another familiar face to NASCAR fans. Chad Knaus will take an advisory role as Hendrick Motorsports has joined Action Express in some sort of alliance to help out with this, possibly to learn about this hybrid electric engine would be a part of it, I believe. But Chad Knaus and Jimmie Johnson are back together, but that is not why this is a big deal. Let me tell you why this is actually a bigger deal than we realize. Although when we think of Jimmie Johnson, we think of a 7-time NASCAR champion, 84 wins. He was the absolute top of the top when he was racing NASCAR. Now, of course, his last couple years didn't go the way he wanted to. But when we think of Jimmie Johnson, we will think of him as a great race car driver, one of the best that ever did it in NASCAR. But in the realm of motorsports, there are certain guys who transcend that. And I'm talking about guys like Mario Andretti, AJ Foyt, and Graham Hill. Now, the first two you're probably familiar with if you're used to, I guess, American racing or stuff like that. The other guy, world famous, not too many people over here have heard about him. So let me tell you about Graham Hill real quick and why he is so special. Graham Hill is the only driver to have ever won the 24 Hours of Le Mans, the Indy 500, and the F1 World Championship. And he is always mentioned with drivers like Mario Andretti, who has won the Indy 500, the Daytona 500, the 24 Hours of Daytona, and the Le Mans 24 Hours. And also AJ Foyt, another driver who has won the Daytona 500, the 24 Hours Le Mans, the Indy 500, and the 24 Hours of Daytona. Not to mention, he has also won several open wheel championships for his era. The reason Jimmie Johnson raced in this series as well as IndyCar is that Jimmie Johnson could possibly win the 24 Hours of Daytona or the 12 Hours of Sebring, which is another race that he will be racing for Action Express. In fact, for Action Express, he's going to race a few IMSA races, and he's also running a full IndyCar season. So let's say Jimmie Johnson hypothetically wins one of those races, or he wins an Indy 500. Instead of just being a NASCAR champion, he has now elevated himself into that conversation of one of the great racers of all time. Now, a few of you might be saying, how come you're not including Tony Stewart on this list? Well, that's because Tony Stewart, as great as he was and as many different types of cars as he raced, he doesn't have necessarily those crown jewels, which doesn't mean anything. Tony Stewart was still one of the best to ever lace them up. And if you put them side by side and you gave me a pick to stick in any race car, I would still, in my opinion, take Tony Stewart. Sorry, Jimmie Johnson fans, don't attack me. But as far as this goes, Jimmie Johnson has the Daytona 500. All he needs to do is get one of these other races, a 24 Hours of Daytona race, which is highly possible with this lineup I just mentioned because they're absolute killers in that car. And also, if he could get an Indy 500, either one of those puts him in the conversation of this list. And the reason that is important is he would be the first fully NASCAR guy to be in that conversation. All these other guys, when you think of them, including Tony Stewart, when you think of them, you don't think NASCAR first. When Jimmie Johnson, you think NASCAR first when it comes to this driver. Tony Stewart, if you watched him on dirt, you'll always think of him as a dirt driver who went to NASCAR, or an open wheel driver in IndyCar who went to NASCAR. You never, the people that grew up watching him do that, never think of him as the NASCAR driver who went and raced something else. The same thing with Mario Andretti. Mario Andretti will always be remembered as an open wheel racer, and AJ Foyt will always just be remembered as a guy who hopped in kind of whatever, but he will, if you had to pin him down, he would most likely be remembered as a guy who raced open wheel. So this is important because for the first time ever, we have a chance of getting a NASCAR guy to be one of those guys in the conversation of greatest international driver, period, end of conversation. And it also will open the door for later drivers. Like I know Kurt Busch has showed some interest, Kyle Busch has showed some interest, and you know Kyle Larson at some point is going to show some interest, but Larson has some work to do. He needs a Daytona 500 before he can think about doing these other things. But I thought this was a really cool story, and this is something that a lot of people have been missing on this particular story, so I thought I would add to it, and I think it would be really cool if Jimmie Johnson could get one of those wins. All right, that is all I've got for you today. If you like the content, please feel free to subscribe down below, and if you got a comment, leave it in the comment section, and other than that, thanks for your time. Peace.